So this is a part two to the last video in a way. I'm going to be going more into the concept of MGTOW and what necessarily made him MGTOW. So we're going to start with the origins. Alright, what creates a man wanting to go his own way? A lot of times it can be divorce, getting kind of the bad end of a deal in divorce, or just realizing the reality of divorce. It can be a bad breakup. It can be being mistreated by women throughout his upbringing, or even in his later years, middle age to 20s, 30s. Then it can also be him just looking at the success of other men and how much success they're having with women. So let's just say there's a guy who's seemingly nerdy or antisocial or very, very, very introverted. He sees a lot of the success that other men that are not like him are having with women, and how he might want to copy their behavior or take on some of their behavior. And then he'll get into this philosophy as he searches things on YouTube or on Google, like why my women left me, or why do women cheat, or why do women lie, why do women deceive, why do women do X and Y. Generally there will be a quote-unquote red pill video attached with the same answer to his question, or we'll ask the same question. So he might ask, why do women cheat? There will be a red pill YouTube video about that. So I'm not necessarily going to go into MGTOW per se. I'm just going to go into the what makes a man this way. So I've already given you 4 examples of why a man can start to become this. So certain terms and certain trains of thought, whether he gets it off a thread or on a YouTube, some pickup artist or a dating coach, he will have these concepts that he'll bring to him, to this man looking for answers. And as he looks for answers, as he's hurting, as he has trauma, he's going to look for some type of support, some type of way to make sense of things. So this is one of the ways that will help him. So not all MGTOW is bad, because there's certain good traits about it, like understanding certain aspects of how women act is good. Not saying that everything that they preach is absolute, not saying that all of what they teach is the truth, but there are certain elements of truth about how women behave I can agree with, and I'm not actually going to get into all the nuances. But here is how it will generally act out in the real world. So we have our concepts of what we think and how we're trying to make sense of the world, but then when the rubber meets the road, and when it becomes no longer theory, but it becomes practical application and the effects of it, this is what I'm interested in. So the effects of kind of the dating, men going their own way, interpersonal social dynamics, all these things that men are trying to reach out for and trying to get knowledge of. Usually it ends up this way. Here are the effects of the modern man. I will call it MGTOW man, but I'm kind of ahead of the curve in how I see men that are going to be in the future. Men are going to become more and more like this. So you might not see a lot of them now, and you might not even notice a lot of them now, but there are a lot, and there will be more, because this is where I believe society is going. Now the effects of the MGTOW man is going to be this. Men are going to start to develop a disdain for women, or distaste. And the reason why this is because a big pillar of MGTOW is anti-feminism. And in a way, I would consider myself mostly anti-feminist, but not purely anti-feminist. I still believe in equality and all the blah blah blah. I believe in that. But I don't believe in this new woman. I don't believe in her. I don't believe in this new mentality that the woman has, to be domineering, to be aggressive, to be the initiator, to be just like the man, to act like the man, to do things like a man. I don't agree with that. And I'm not saying women can't have their own businesses and they can't. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the mentality that culture is asking women to become. Back to it though. MGTOW is anti-feminist. And because of that, he's going to be reactionary. In the same way the feminist was reactionary to men being oppressive or abusive or battering, she develops a distaste. In the same way as she becomes more hyper-feminist and more lacking empathy, it's going to cause the men to react in a distaste, to not like the woman, to not like the modern woman. So in ways I sympathize with it, but I want you to hold on to this idea that men are going to become more and more increasingly anti-woman. And the way this is going to show up is, let me look at my notes here. They're going to start to objectify women. But here's how it gets weird. Men understand, at least the MGTOW man, he understands that women like objectifying themselves for reasons we still can't figure out to this day. I mean, we have our ideas. I mean, I have my ideas of why you guys do it. We are going to, deep down inside, we're going to hate the fact that you do it. But because we are sexual and because we have hormones, we're still going to be gravitated towards you. But that doesn't mean we have to like you. We just have to be there. We have a sexual urge. We have needs that need to be met. So we're going to put up with you. But remember, there is an underlying distaste there. We're not going to objectify you, not just visually, but we're going to objectify all of you for what you can do to us. And when I say us, I mean the modern man. We're going to objectify you in what you can do for us, physically, sexually, basically, and your resources. So that's what we're going to be using you for, which goes on to my next point. You're going to see a lot more men using women, because as this dating game and as the understanding female nature and trying to make sense of how women are and how to deal with them, the new MGTOW man is going to become more and more highly adapted to persuade you, to charm you, to woo you, to outwit you in some of the games that the feminists have laid out, actually, in the past. Probably in the 90s, 80s, with the movement and stuff like that, even earlier. The men are going to master the techniques that they're searching for. And it's going to be a more and more evolved form of game, a more and more evolved form of being a player. I'm telling you, this is coming. Let's see. Another thing, this is going to lead to more and more illegitimate children, because as the man in MGTOW is taught not to commit, he's taught not to marry, he's taught not to be accountable by contract with a woman. So he's not going to want the traditional role of marriage. He's going to want to escape that. He's going to want to have you, all of you. He wants to play wife and husband. He doesn't want to actually be that. So he's going to either bow out of his responsibility as a man, or he'll just be with you, but it will be out of wedlock. So you guys will have a family out of the construct of marriage, out of the institution of marriage. Now, this is how it's going to have a really big impact, is because it's going to lead to more and more broken families. Because not only is the man going to become more and more increasingly a player, more and more increasingly of a like a Casanova, for lack of a better term, it's going to get more and more women vulnerable to what he wants from them, which is sex and power or resources. He's going to get that at a more and more increasing rate, which this is going to mean that there's going to be more and more kids born out of wedlock. But if more and more kids are born out of wedlock and more kids are born without fathers, that means there's more and more broken families. And this is where it gets worse and worse, because as the families become more and more broken, so do the communities. And if the communities become more and more broken, what does that lead to? Look in your ghettos. Look at all of your inner cities. Look at all of the urban areas. They're going to be high crime, less success rate in terms of wealth mobility. There's going to be more and more social problems in those structures, in those ghettos, in those inner city youths. There's going to be a lot more problems. There's going to be more violence. There's going to be, you get the idea. But this is going to lead to this mentality, this new man mentality, this new MGTOW mentality. And I'm just calling it right now. I'm calling that right now, just for the sake of this video, because I know there's more. That is going to have a large impact on our society at large, because as men become more and more MGTOW minded, it's going to lead to more and more broken families, therefore more and more of a broken society down the road. And it might even lead to the collapse of it, because ultimately I believe that men are the pillar, men are the foundation to our society, because we provide structure and we provide security. But if you take that out, what do you have? If you take the slab, the concrete slab, out of your house, what do you have? You might have a house for a little bit, but what happens as the wind blows, as the tornadoes come, as the natural disasters happen? The less structure you have, the less integrity of the foundation you have, the more and more prone that house is to fall apart. And what happens to everyone inside? Everyone gets hurt. And this is the analogy that I'm bringing to you. As men and men become less and less involved with the women, in the terms in in the space of marriage, in the space of interacting with them, as that bond becomes more and more of a severed tie instead of bound together, it's going to lead to more and more chaos in the streets, more and more unrest, more and more crime, more and more murder, more and more incarcerations. It's not looking good. So what you can do as a woman, what you can do as a man is, first off, stop playing games. Men, stop playing games. Women, stop playing games. But most importantly, women, keep your legs closed. Because this will keep you less vulnerable, this will keep you less emotionally attached, and it will allow you to make the best decisions. It will allow you to be the most conscious of what you want and try to negotiate that with the man. And for men, I would just say, I'm going to come up with another video, but at least for the moment I would say, just be more accountable to who you are involved with and who you're interacting with, and pay attention to how they're feeling, and just be courteous to them. And stop always thinking with your other head. So, with that being said, I got more on this topic, but for now, I'll just let you guys go. Take care.